with Canada playing on Tuesday, kicking off their Gold Cup campaign. Not the favourites. Mexico are the favourites in this tournament. We saw the States finally look better last night, smashing Trinidad and Tobago with pretty much an MLS-heavy team. There's some Europeans in there, but a much better performance. And we saw Mexico squeak a win on Saturday. But for Canada up against Honduras on Tuesday, I thought we'd talk today mainly about this squad and specifically who has the most to prove and lose at this year's Gold Cup for the Canadian squad. Just pick a name, each of you, right? Oh, Wonga. Let's start with Dan Wong. Dan, who has the most to lose or gain?
I've been thinking about this I thought this was such a good question, just so everyone knows. The night before our podcast, Sharms does a lot of homework and he puts together some questions that we can think about. And the Gold Cup was high on my mind because we talked about it last week at the Canadian Shield. But the guy for me has the most to prove / most to lose is Kyle Larin. I think that he has to cement himself beside John David, and because the up-and-comers are up-and-coming. And it really, I think the competition will give Jesse Marsch a good idea of where he wants his club and the players that he wants to be leading it going into 2026. So that's my player biggest to lose, most to win.
I think it's a great point, Craig. So Kyle Larin, right now, I think if there's a massive game tomorrow, which there is, I think Kyle Larin's starting that match alongside John David. But how tenuous is his position with Promise David, with Dan Jefferson, waiting for their opportunity?
Yeah, I think that Wonger's nailed that one. I think that he does have a lot to lose. It's probably his to take, and if he proves it, he'll be the starter. But there's Jefferson that is knocking on the door. Promise David's knocking on the door, like he said. The up-and-comer is Wonger.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
no one knows Canada soccer like Wonger.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is he one average performance away from being dropped, or is he still the man in Jesse Marsch's eyes, do you think?
I think he probably still is for the time being. Wouldn't you agree with that, Jimmy? I think that it's he's performed well with Jonathan David, and it's for him to lose, I would say. But we need a little bit more from Larin.
I agree. I think with Kyle Larin, it's just these big games and going into these tournaments, you want the experience. I mean, this is a guy that's got 30-plus goals for the Canadian national team, played in the World Cup, played in the Gold Cup. He's got bags of experience. He knows big tournaments. And I don't think Jefferson, I don't think Promise David is ready. I don't think Tanny's ready to be the partner of Jonathan David. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time for those guys to get up to speed and really understand the way that Marsch wants to play. Because I think if you watch Jefferson against Ivory Coast, for me, he didn't do much, not at all. Promise David, yeah, he brings something different, but he's not a starter as of yet. And I think the only tandem and the only partner for Jonathan David is Kyle Larin at the moment.
I'll add to that, and I'll say, Sharms, your question about is he one bad performance away from being dropped from that 11? I think he'll always remain in the squad for all the reasons that Forrest and Jimmy just named, because of that leadership, because of the partnership ceiling of those two, even though I think it hasn't really worked in the past. I think you have two individuals who have performed well for Canada historically, so that's who you've gone with. But that chemistry never really comes off in terms of how it translates in the final third. So he'll always be, to me, a key cog, a key part of that roster, say, projecting forward to next year. But I think it's more about the other players when you look at the forward depth for Canada. So if Promise David, if Jefferson, if Tani Oluwaseyi, if any of these players have an absolutely extraordinary performance, that is what's going to move the needle. So it's based for me on what is Jesse Marsch prioritizing in this Gold Cup? Is he using it to give a run out to some of these players that we've seen less of? Because if you look at that to me, almost like a reference point in terms of a performance against the Ukraine, save the late 2 goals. That is John David performing like we know he can perform in a Canadian kit, delivering with goals for the national team, looking at the players who are around him, mostly a Tajon Buchanan, who had an outstanding performance. So it's about how that supporting cast performs to elevate the stars across that front line. And I don't know if Kyle Larin fits in if you get outstanding performances from the other players. But I think for me, his value is sort of built into this squad, and he has to be included. But is he included as a starter? That's a whole other question.
Yeah, you've got to manage these minutes for these players, don't you, after this season? So you're going to see these guys get an opportunity off the bench for a Kyle, for a John David, who's played so many minutes this season. And I mean, it's funny, Kyle Larin isn't old. He's only 30. Sometimes I think he's older than he is. He's still a guy that's in his prime. And okay, I know he wants out at Mallorca, it sounds like, but there's clubs sniffing around in Spain who still want him. They know what he can do. He's one of those, even though he's scored a lot of goals for his country, he is one of those non-goal scoring strikers in that he does so much more than just put the ball in the net. It's those things that coaches love and Jesse Marsch loves defensively, set pieces. So yeah, really important. But like you said, if let's say against Honduras he starts, say at 70 minutes they bring on Promise and he scores 2 goals, it's going to be difficult to not start Promise the next game, right? But who say Carl can't come in, Craig, and stick a couple in, right? So it's a good problem to have. This isn't a problem. I'm not saying it's an issue by any stretch. It's a good place to be for Jesse Marsch. You have a guy that you can really rely on and trust, and you have trusted, but there's a little competition now that maybe wasn't there a year ago.
Hasn't been there for years. Well, I mean, up until the last few years, I guess. But before that, there wasn't an awful lot of competition for that spot. Strikers, people that put the ball in the net, that's not Canada. What are we doing here? You know what I mean? So it's great. It's a luxury, actually, for Jesse Marsch.
And what it boils down to is like when our discussions about Schaffelberg last summer at Copa America, he's always one of these guys like a Crépeau who performs well for country no matter what's happening at club, right? So is he better as a starter, or is he better coming off the bench where he can run at players and he's got that pace to put defenders on their heels and can just be absolutely a nightmare to deal with when you've got, say, an hour in your legs and he comes on for the last half an hour? Is Kyle Larin more effective for a men's national team as a starter or as a substitute? I see him more as a starter. And then like the other two, like you look at the qualities and the profile of a Promise David. To me, that's an easy decision. Larin's your starter and Promise David is somebody that you're pulling out to finish a game, right?
No longer subs, right? They're called closers. Who was it?
Finishers, impact players, all kinds of.
No subs. That's offensive.
No.
Don't call people subs anymore. It's not right. It upsets them. Jimmy, who's is there a player that? Well, hopefully there is, because I posed a question. Who is the player for you that has the most to prove or lose?
The most approved for me is Nathan Saliba. And the reason being is because Estequio needs that partner in the middle of the park beside him. A lot of people have penciled Kone in. Some people have talked about Choinière, but I think the way that Saliba has played in the last games, the way that he's playing for Montreal, drawing attention obviously from Europe, I think he's got an opportunity here to show that he can be that number one starter alongside Estequio. There's a lot of potential and a lot of promise about Nathan, and I think he's the guy that can show what he has and the class that he has. And I hope he does it, because I really like the way that he plays. I like him as a player, as a young man, and for me, he's a player in the middle of the park that has a lot to prove.
Jimmy doing all he can right now to kiss the ass of CF Montreal, after his
making amends
after what he said about them before their win on the weekend.
Yeah,
that's a great point, though. Dubs, you watch a lot of Montreal. We know how this guy's viewed at that club, and how there's some pretty big clubs keeping a very close eye on him. Maybe he's the next Ismail Kone making that move over there. But he could win that position, could he not, with a good Gold Cup?
He can, because I think the ceiling's so high. But I'll add to what Jimmy's saying is that the potential's there when he's playing well, but he's had a very inconsistent season so far with CF Montreal. And I would even say at the beginning of the year, he was quite poor. He was well below the standard that he set for himself in national team camp last fall when he impressed Jesse Marsh, but also when you look at his body of work over the course of last MLS season. He has not met that standard consistently. So if he's able to, Jimmy and Craig, you guys can speak to this. And like, I remember it too, playing, even though we were a team unattached for a long time with the national team, but moving from one environment to the other, you can leverage, your play with your country as a way to increase and improve your performance with club and vice versa, right? Because it's almost a clean slate walking in. You understand what the demands are on you for playing Jesse Marsh's style. And to Jimmy's point, I think what's working in Saliba's favor is that he has all the tools to succeed playing Jesse Marsh football. So I think if he comes into camp and does really well, then he brings that form back to CF Montreal. And it's just a matter of time, I think, before he's away to Europe. There were discussions about it last year, but is Ishmael Kone maybe that cautionary tale where he's still a young man? Saliba is he better served staying in MLS a little bit longer before he makes that jump?
And with Eustachio being away right now, Craig, at the Club World Cup, there's going to be opportunity in that central midfield spot. I don't know what he goes for in that first match. He's 21, right? And Kone's only 22. So, these are still young players who are both inconsistent, which is a real trait of young players. It's not like, Dubs is criticizing the guy. I don't think it's like, this is what you deal with young players. Just ask Roberto De Zerbi and with Kone at Marseille this past season. But I'm really interested about who gets that midfield start tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Jesse wants to win this Gold Cup. They're well positioned to win it. They have to be favorites to win it.
You think? Mexico? They won the Nations League.
Yeah, they did. And I think that the only thing that would turn, if Canada was going to play potentially the final in Canada, I'd be hands down, this is Canada's to lose. But because they're playing down there, and the chances are there's going to be 70,000 Mexicans, that makes things really, really difficult. Hence why it's very difficult for anybody outside of Mexico and the United States to win the Gold Cup. So he'll go with a strong lineup, I think, and try to make sure he gets the result. Honduras isn't the strongest side that they've ever had, that's for sure. There's some weak sides in CONCACAF, and Honduras is, for me, one of those ones that's rebuilding at the moment, trying to get back to their past glories. And so they'll be looking to get off to a very good start, which I expect they will do.
Guess, Jimmy, who's going to start tomorrow, do you think, in the central midfield? Who would you guess?
Kone. And if it was me, I would have Saliba and Kone. That'd be my two central midfielders.
I agree with that.
That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But I like Chouanier from set pieces.
Yeah. I just like Chouanier. I think Chouanier
is like saying his name. He's like saying his name, don't you?
Yeah. But it's also more every time he's on, whether he's playing 5 minutes, coming on late, or playing a full half, and whether he's a starter or not, I just find that he does the right things and he solidifies that midfield.
Are we all dismissing Osorio here as far as midfield solution ahead of the World Cup?
He's always a midfield solution, but I don't think he's your starter.
Yeah, I agree.
Even with players missing, though, like, for example, potentially for big games, you do need that leadership, right? But I guess you have that with Davids and the Larins. I just think people he's almost, because he's in his early 30s, he's kind of in his an afterthought for a lot of people in this squad now. He's been part of the furniture for so long, right? We don't think about Ozo, but he has been. He's been there forever.
He's a necessary afterthought, though, as his team has made strides and built depth and built quality. That I think a player like Oso, even though he's been a great servant for Canada and for TFC, that his form, I think, has dipped a little bit this year. But I think you have emerging stars and talent and depth in that pool of players that it's almost by default that he's not cast aside, but that he becomes a little bit more peripheral as you focus on the potential of these youthful upstarts that are coming through the ranks. It's a necessary changing of the guard if Canada is going to have success, that Oso becomes more of a fringe player, still there because of everything that he brings, like a Kyle Larin. But I don't think a player that you're going to be leaning heavily on if you want to have success.
I don't think it helps that the club that you're playing for isn't playing very well either. It's hard to shine in that type of environment at the moment.
They need Jimmy to speak critically of them.
Yeah, that's right.
Good luck with that.
We've lost connection with Jimmy,
Been a
I'm
while.
afraid, listeners.
It's going to get a cappuccino.
Yeah, that's right.
By the way, Canada's third favorites, Craig, according to FanDuel. States and Mexico both at plus 190. Canada plus 650 still. Which didn't I put money on that?
I don't know. I wish
I've
I tried to.
Putting money on all kinds of stuff.
I tried to.
I'm putting money on it right now.
How much? $3? Do it.
No,
$3.
Toonie.
I'm putting $10 on Canada.
Nice.
Right. Log in and join.
Starman.
Oh, you're
Shaking. Look at it.
I don't like the way you're like increasing your gambling here. We might need to chat.
Know your limit. Stay
I
within
know
it,
my
Charms.
limits. Oh, you know what? It won't even let me log. Oh, this is probably a sign. It won't let me make the bed right now.
Are you okay to gamble? And you said, "Of course not. I'm on Footy
Yeah.
Prime right now."
He just increased his gambling by like 90%.
I know.
That's right. It's like when you get the call from your bank for suspected fraud because Charms is trying to bet more than $1 on a game. They're like, it must be somebody else.
Yeah. It can't be this guy. He's a cheap bastard. I will put that bet in. I will try after this. I will put that bet in. I promise you. Okay, Dubs. Who are you? It's your turn, right? I haven't asked you yet, have I?
It is. Yeah, I think it lines up quite nicely with our discussion and Jimmy's answer. Talking about Saliba, because I went with Mathieu Choinière. But before that, I have a 1A and 1B. Jimmy, this will surprise you because I'm going to be extremely verbose here. Is that, can he be that big game player for country? Right? Like that.
Whom?
John David.
Yeah.
Oh,
John David. You didn't say John David.
Well, I said I have 1A, 1B. So I have John David first. Remember going back to my argument with JP where you need, in order to have success, whether it's tournament play or consistently, you need your big guns to be your big guns. You need your goalkeepers to come up with timely clutch saves, and you need that wild card. So my answer addresses both. So we need John David to be that big gun. And I think that Ukraine match is like a microcosm of what he can bring continually, consistently for this national team. But then who will be that wild card? Again, for me, it's Choinière. After a very inconsistent year for for club, disappointing season with Grasshopper. I think he only had 826 minutes played. So is he in the form that he needs to be to make that desired impact if he gets that shot to be a starter? We know that he's got the quality on the set pieces where Canada has historically, or at least under Jesse Marsh, struggled. You got Nicolas Gagnon that's hired. We had on this show, Quebec Soccer. Then he was over with Southampton, and now he's with the men's national team. But I mean, I think when you look at Choinière, he's the epitome of that willing runner that Jesse Marsh wants in his squad. He's got an outstanding engine. He's simple. He's effective. He's got that footballing IQ, and he plays aggressively and he plays progressively. So he can pass, he can dribble, he can run. That's what he can offer you when he's in form. But is he truly in form? But then I go back to that Uruguay match at Copa, and I was looking at who Marsh put out in his 11. It was Kone and it was Choinière in the heart of that midfield. I remember everybody was surprised at how many players that he rotated, but like they were incredible that match. And I think it was underpinned by the solidity and the play of that partnership in the middle of the park. And then with Eustachio playing the Club World Cup with Porto, you have that opportunity now. So can he seize it? So I think for me, it's Choinière who has the most to prove.
Mm-hmm. I like that player a lot. He adds that guile.
Yeah.
Is that the word to use? That perhaps
that's a
isn't
great
that
word. Do you know how to spell guile?
Guile.
Yes, well done.
Yeah.
Can I make a joke? Just because we talked about Grasshopper? So a Grasshopper walks in the bar and the bartender says, "Oh, we have a drink named after you." And the Grasshopper says, You have a drink named Steve?"
It's so stupid and so good.
I stole it. It just came up well.
It's
You know what, Warner, my daughter said to me yesterday, we were sitting there, we were just all hanging out in the backyard, And she goes, you know what, Dad? That Dan Wong is pretty funny, huh? I was like, what?
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
Out of the blue?
out of the blue.
Amazing.
Big question here is, why is she listening to the podcast?
I know. I said that. I said, can you listen to the podcast? She's like, yeah.
Well, she met him, and maybe that's why.
Yeah.
That's it.
I have to say, Jimmy, your children are really well brought up. You know, when you meet kids and you're like, oh, that's an amazing kid. And they've got foundation and their parents gave them that. And so that was really nice meeting your children.
That's nice. I just gave them shit yesterday.
You're talking about Jen, really.
Yeah.
You were an angry dad on Father's Day?
No, they were good yesterday. They were awesome. They spoiled me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to all of you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, this is exciting for Craig. Craig, my daughter bought me some golf lessons for Father's Day. I'm going to start playing golf.
Oh,
It's time. I'm at my golf years.
okay.
Yeah.
Charms, the four of us, not including Dubs because she lives in Montreal, we'll go out to Chloe's club at Pickering Glen, and the four of us will go because it's it's right near you, close enough to Jimmy, and Craig and I can make our hike out there.
Well, let's do that. Let me get these lessons in first.
No,
No,
we want to see them before and after.
No, because I won't play otherways. I'm too
All right.
competitive. I'm
So go play
Yeah,
a
you
par
wanted to go
3. Par 3s are so fun.
like
It's the only golf
Dentonia.
I'll play.
Dentonia, downtown Toronto, Dubs, is a par 3 course.
So much fun.
And you have to dodge the homeless guy. But it's a good course. Haven't played there for years, mind you. But
Craig and I used to go, and we'd bring 3 clubs, and you just your putter, your 7. I think it's a putter, a 7, and
Love a
something else,
7
like
iron.
a pitching
Wedge
pitching
and
wedge.
9.
Yeah.
you don't need a wedge. Be on the fairway the entire time. After my
On a
lessons.
par 3, you shouldn't be on the fairway.
Ever.
Shut up.
I'll put $10 on that not happening.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so we'll do that because it's time. It's time I start playing golf.
It's good for you.
Yeah. They still sell booze in the course, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. Whose turn is it? Is
Craigers.
Craig? Yeah, Craig. Who's got the most to lose or gain from this year?
Well, I'll stick with goalkeepers on this. I think both goalkeepers, Max Crepeau and Dane Sinclair, who are 1 and 2, 2 and 1, whatever at the moment. Both those guys have something to lose. We have some strong goalkeepers coming up. Tom Gill. Pantemis is playing well in Portland. I'm not sure why he doesn't get a look in, to be honest with you. Because he's well liked there.
He's
And
making
him
a
and Max
highlight
doing-
pack too. He's making highlight packs for MLS. So
Yeah.
when you're doing that, you're in the focus.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Max has to wonder when he goes back to Portland whether he's going to get the starting position. Because as a manager, if your other keeper is going in there and doing well, you got to sort of stick with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's battling that as well. So, yeah, very strong goalkeepers, and they've done really well, both of them, Dane Sinclair and Max, but they have to continue to do that.
Do you know anyone know much about this kid, Thomas Hassal at LAFC, the backup? I know
No, but
nothing
I
about
saw
it.
it. I saw the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got to look into that because, again, there's Canadians throughout football, not all starting perhaps, but yeah, the quality is there. I think maybe Dane's got the most to lose, Craig. I think he's just got the slight edge right now, given that he started the Nations League, right? So it seems if there's an edge, it's just to Dane, which means there's only one way to go. Whereas if you look at it that way, Max has got the most to gain. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think it looks as though Jesse Marsh likes Dane Sinclair maybe slightly better, only because of his profile, his size. He's a big boy, likes that. But it's hard to know exactly what Jesse's thinking. There's several games left before the World Cup. We've got some big competitions, lots of games. Well, say lots of games. There's not lots of games, but there's enough there to win or lose your starting position. So everybody's fighting for spots, and everybody wants to be there. It's really, really good to see.
I really like Dane's swagger, and I like Max's. I won't call it recklessness, but courage, maybe.
He's brave. He never lets us down. Canada, he brings his best.
But Dane's got that a likable arrogance as a footballer. Some players have that, And in a goalkeeper, that's pretty important, I think. And it's quite endearing. So I love watching him play. But yeah, we're in good shape. It's not a problem as a goal. That's one area, no matter what the choice is, I think we can all feel pretty comfortable that Can is in good hands, so to speak, in goal. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
You knew that was good as the grasshopper joke.
I hadn't prepared for it. It just came to me, Jimmy. I hadn't written it down. Watch get the hands line in the podcast at some point today.
That's right.
I know
Must insert after 20 minutes.
I shouldn't have put that in the rundown. You all saw it now. 20 minutes in.
But I want to say just a quick comment on your likable arrogance. Like, I feel like the litmus test for it for me is if I smile and enjoy it, like, in the moment. So I think about a Dane Sinclair and how masterful he is for penalty shots and penalty kicks, or a match goes into pens. And he gives the team that kind of Emi Martinez, like, slightly off the wall, unhinged, but again, still controlled, which I like. I mean, Emi Martinez, I think I'm a fan of, because it gives your team that edge, right? It goes into that study where it said players who are quick to take their penalties, or like less than half a second after you hear the whistle, are more inclined to miss. And then players that wait it out, look at the goalkeeper, seeing what's happening, like, they're more inclined to be clinical in that moment. And then how much a goalkeeper and what they're doing, antics, gamesmanship, shithousery, whatever you want to call it, and how much that can play in the heads of the penalty shot taker. So I think if you compare it, you boil it down, you distill it just to Crépeau versus Sinclair in that moment, the edge for me goes to Sinclair. And I enjoy it. Whereas sometimes you see it and I recoil. And then that is when it's just arrogance, and it's not likable arrogance.
Yeah, likable goalkeepers like Fabian Barthez had it, Bruce Grobbelaar, Jose Luis Chilavert, Paraguay. Was it Paraguay or Chile? Forget now. Rene Higuita, right, Craig? These guys, they were just oozing arrogance, but it was just
Jorge Campos.
I was going to say your Mexican friend. Yeah.
Oliver Kahn.
Then there were robots.
Oliver who?
Yeah.
Oliver who? Oh, yeah. He was more, I found him more of a unlikable arrogance, though, don't you?
Yes, I get you.
It's just arrogance.
He was so good. Maybe because he was German. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he was incredible. And he was bigger than the match often, right? And he had that look in his face, that terror, and he just scream in your face, like Craig Forrest at a Gold Cup to his teammates. And he just backed
after saving the penalty kick.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the fuck out.
Going to give him a high five, and he's telling you to piss off.
Schmeichel too, right? Same kind of thing, wasn't he? Schmeichel Khan was the same kind of thing. They had real swagger to them, but it was more of a swagger based in terror. As opposed to
Schmeichel was more, I think if you're a defender on your own team, you're terrified of him, because you'd rip shit and stripes off you, right? The opposition, that was more of a Con thing. Con would get involved with the opposition more. And man, oh man, if he was coming out in a 50-50, you wouldn't want to be involved with that.
No.
The old Schumacher challenge at the World Cup in 86 or something.
Yeah,
German goalkeepers.
Yeah. Wow.
And was he a chatty guy? Like, would he get in guys' ears and like shit talk and do all that sort of stuff? Or was it just mostly the way that he dealt with the opponent and that he was really imposing and struck fear in them?
Who's that, Dubs?
Con.
Oh, Con.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think he was a yeller and a screamer. It wasn't like subtle banter with him, was it? It's like, you knew exactly where you stood with him, whether you're a defender or you're an opposing striker.
Does any German have subtle banter? It might be our
trying to think. Probably not.
I mean, sweeping generalizations here, but
is there any German comedians?
There has to be, right? There's not very.
I tried to be. They wouldn't let me.
Okay, sorry. German.
Not German.
Your mother German? Is your father German? You're not German.
You put a sprockets onto it, though. It was much more succinct and somewhat rude. But your sprockets is a little nicer, actually.
Is it? Yeah, I went to Mike Myers' sprockets kind of angle to it.
Yeah.
So I have one here. About Zohan Besson. Now he got called into the squad. There's no Sam Adekubi for who knows how long. There's no Fonzie. So who's playing left back? it will probably be Richie.
Mhm.
I'm guessing.
Richie gets the start, yeah.
Right, Jimmy?
Yeah.
But this is a young player who's kind of beginning to make a name for himself with this team.
Yeah.
If he gets an opportunity, what an opportunity is. He's got a lot to gain, I think, as a natural left-sided player.
Yeah, I agree. I really like him. I like him as a player. I like the way he reads the game. He wants to get forward. It's progressive. But we don't know how he's going to handle these big moments, these big games. That's always going to be the test. But I think Richie Larin is going to take that left back position. And who knows? I mean, look, we've even seen Alistair Johnson come over to the left side and play left back.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot to think about. Do you rely on a guy that doesn't have much international experience, or do you go with somebody that does, knowing that they're going to get the job done? And for me, I think I'd rather start with a Richie Larin because I know what I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like
sorry, Jimmy. And then if you need somebody, to your point about Alistair Johnson coming over to the left side, do you go more with Seager as your next off the bench there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
One last question for me for Amy and Jimmy, not so much for Craig, is does it make a difference if you're named a starter, how you approach the game? And then even the bigger question, does it matter to you as long as you're on the pitch at the end when it really matters? That was always kind of, as an athlete for me, I didn't care if starting was great, but it was like a cherry on top. As long as I was on the court, on the field, running the track as one of the guys at the end of the, in the final, in the last quarter, in the last half. Isn't that what matters, or does it matter for these personalities and these egos?
I think it matters for these personalities and these egos, and also what the plan is, like what you're doing if you're Jesse Marsh right now. And I think they're setting out to win this thing. They want the trophy, right? So I think it does matter in the eyes of these players and for their egos and for how they see themselves being valued by Jesse Marsh. And also thinking about next year and how every single minute and every single window and match counts. So of course you want to be part of that 11. Of course you do. I mean, you're cognizant of the pieces who are missing via injury and via, Eustachio being obviously somebody who's cemented in that 11 in the middle of the park. But of course you want to be named as a starter, 100%. But yeah, you want to feel like you have a spot, and that might be as a finisher. And you want to be trusted in those final moments if the game's on the line. But I think first and foremost, you want to be in that starting 11.
Okay. And if you're not Wonger, you make sure you're ready for that opportunity when it comes. So yeah, your approach is a little bit different, but you have to be ready to go whenever that moment comes. Okay, I'm not getting the start, but I'm pretty confident I might get a 20-minute spell at some stage. I better make that count.
One was just happy being part of the gang.
No, I liked being able to make I know how important it is to be on the field at the end. That's all. And that was always for me the biggest. It wasn't about the start. Always seemed like cherry on top. Like I said, it was great because your name, you get announced, you're all that kind of stuff. But it was more, hey, if I know I'm going to play 4/5 of this game, I don't care when I want that 4/5 to be the meaningful 4/5. Jimmy, how did you approach it?
I wanted to start every game.
Okay.
Every game I wanted to start. I hate being a sub. I hated it. I mean, Hardy even told you last time, if I was on the bench, I was so annoying.
It's hard to imagine.
Jimmy Sharms and I would like to have a talk with you after the podcast.
I would be, as the game was going on, I'd be yelling down the bench, but Hardy, you need me. And I'd run by him to warm up. Hardy, come on, put me on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Enough here.
Yeah, that's right. He's playing like shit. Put me on.
Little whisper.
Yeah.
You know, Ronaldo at the Euros final, coaching the team.
What's that?
You're like Ronaldo at the Euros final, actually coaching the team from the sidelines.
Yeah.
Telling the coach to sit down. I'll take it from here, boss.
Yeah. But I love to start because that was you get into a routine, and footballers love routines and structure. And when I knew I was playing, I knew exactly what I had to do. I was focused, ready to go play. And then was a sub, it just threw me a curveball, and I didn't like it. Didn't like it because I was like, okay, when am I going to come on? And I hated coming on. You know, if you're coming on last 5 minutes to finish off a game and you don't even touch the ball, and I'm like, fuck it. You didn't feel a part of it. You know what I mean? Although you're doing a role and you got to be part of the team, which I was more than happy to do. But I just didn't like coming on the last few minutes of a match. I hated it.
More. Some people are more suited to it than others. You know, we know that over the time, and great super subs that have made a terrific living off coming off the bench.
Pesci was a super sub.
Yeah.
Jimmy, do you think? Sorry, Sharm. Do you think though, like, if you're not part of Jesse Marsh's preferred 11 as you're, you know, in match day 1 tomorrow versus Honduras, he's communicating, or the technical staff, the coaches are speaking to all of the players about what the plan is across the entirety of the tournament, right? If you're not a starter against Honduras, maybe you will be against Curacao. And if you're not there, then maybe this is how we'll need you against El Salvador. Like, they're having those talks with the players so that everybody stays engaged, right?
Yeah, you have to look with football. And when you're the manager, the starting 11 take care of themselves. You don't even have to worry about them. Once that roster goes out and you say, okay, you're the starting 11, you can leave them alone. The most important people to look after is your subs. Those are the ones, because obviously they're a little bit wounded. They all want to start. Those are the players that you have to take care of. So you have to be in contact with them. You have to explain their roles. You listen, you might get some minutes here, but this is tournament football. This starting 11 can't start every single game. So we're going to need everybody. And there's a plan that's going to be in place, right? So there has to be communication constantly with your subs. Or impact players.
A sub can become a starter by the end of the tournament anyway. Wasn't it 98? I think it was. Michael Owen, young kid, on the bench first couple of games. People screaming to Glenn Huddle, "Why aren't you starting Owen?" I think Teddy Sheringham was still starting back in those days, I think. And then by game 3 or whatever it was, in came Owen, and he scored a couple of goals. Was it Switzerland? Maybe my memory's not great, and then he owned that spot for the next 10 years when he was healthy. So you can do it.
You're right. You never know who's going to show up in a tournament and embrace that opportunity. You know, look at wasn't it Scalacci? Scalacci, remember with Italy? And all of a sudden,
that's right. Was that 94, right? 94 World Cup. Yeah.
And just ended up getting to the tournament and was steamrolling through it.
Palarossi,
right? 82. Yeah, exactly.
Same thing. Wasn't prolific in league football, but boy, that tournament.
Well, Carlo Corazine.
Yeah, Carlo Corazine with 4 goals at the Gold Cup.
Yeah,
was it 4? Yeah, exactly. Golden Boot winner. Was it 6?
Yeah,
I think he had 6 goals. Can't remember what it was now. Yeah. But regardless,
definitely the wild card.
Yeah, you find that guy on form. You know what pisses me off, Wonga, about talking about starters and track and field, 100-meter relay, when they don't,
when they run 25 meters each.
No, well, that
4 by 1.
But when they're resting the star man until the final, so you get a couple of guys or girls.
You can't do that often though, because you don't get to the final.
I know you got to be really confident in your backups,
right?
But you're what? Maybe you run 2 heats in a day. Is that fair to say? At most,
that's it.
So you're running 50 meters, full speed. You can't do that.
80 meters, 80 to 100. Yeah, 80 to
right. By the time you get the baton, right? Okay, say whatever it is.
Yeah.
Say you're running 100 meters at full speed. You're not in the relay. 200 meters in one day. You can't do that.
You could.
Not good enough.
No.
Donovan, you should be in every heat. Okay.
Usain, you better be in every heat.
Yeah.
James Sharman's telling sprinters what to do.
as Stubbs knows, I'm very good.
That's right.
Okay. That's it, right?
Yeah.
For this particular podcast. However, we will be touching on the Club World Cup in our mini pod, which will be shortly dropped. But make sure that you take in the Club World Cup a weekend, and it's been really quite interesting so far. And you can sign up to the Zone right now and watch all of the FIFA World Cup for free.
I did it this morning, or Go RPS. I actually did it over the weekend, but I have the Zone. Go RPS, one of our Twitter followers, it said, "Hey, I can't get through. I'm having an issue." There's a skip button. So if you're someone because it's going to give you, hey, sign up for the premium at $4.99 a month, press skip on that, and it actually brings you through to all of the highlight packs and the free matches.
Is it Go RPS? I thought it was Gorps.
I didn't know what it was. Go RPS or Gorps.
I've always gone Gorp.
I thought it was Gorps too.
Yeah.
It's a great name, whatever it is.
It is. It conjures conversation. Gorps or Go RPS. Let us know how we're supposed to pronounce it.
Yes.
Please do. But yeah, as mentioned, you can watch every FIFA Club World Cup game for free on DAZN. So sign up right now. Thanks, everyone. We're back tomorrow with tomorrow's Tuesday. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow in the regular club, but there'll be a Club World Cup special as well. So until then, thanks so much. Cheers for listening and watching. Bye-bye.